Hello, everyone. I am still preparing the show. Apparently, I'm live. This is good. Let me just post the links. I'm a little late. I just finished editing the International Radio Report show and send it in to CKUT. I'm a little late in what I do today. A little bit late. So this is fine. And let me just post it here. There we go. And post it here. Shortwave show. Everybody can find where we are. I went, I visited a friend last night, and I did not expect to come back so late. So everything is late today, including I got up late. We recorded the International Radio Report half an hour later than usual. And everything is last minute today. And Shortwave live stream on Twitter. There we go. Let's do. There we go. Great. Okay, now I need to get myself a drink. I need to get myself a drink. I need to get myself a drink. So this is like this. You just start the SDR. Uno. And give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to go and make myself I just put it more like this. A little drink. And I am back in a minute. And here we are again. We can now start the show. And here we go. Just put this like this. And this. And just take that wire back in the screen. Hey, hello everybody. Finally ready. So vodka and cranberry juice. That's a frequency counter. And it's not a scanner. It's a Radio Shack frequency counter that I purchased long time ago. Okay, welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Shortwave Radio live stream. We are live once again, and my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We talk about radio and just have fun talking about radio, and we enjoy and do some listening and try to tune in to some stations. Let me just start this here. Play. And here we go. Let's tune 15 megahertz. And here we go. Okay, and so this is a show where we talk about radio, shortwave radio, any kind of radio. As long as it's a radio, we talk about it. We are, of course, I'm just looking for my phone. My phone's over there. Okay. So we, of course, have a lot of fun with these shows. We tune around the bands and we answer questions. There's a great community of people here. Like I said, my name is Gilles, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we are here usually on Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 hours UTC. Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours UT. Keep in mind that next week there are no shows. As for August, what I will do is do a week with shows and a week no shows to take some time off. I noticed that taking a little bit of time off is beneficial and helps me get back into a better mood and a better environment. And we'll get back to the regular weekly shows early September. And also at the same time, I can enjoy a little bit more the summer. And next week's supposed to be quite nice. I expect to go to Perry Island again to do some little de-expedition and radio. And it's really cool. So there's a great chat room where wonderful people are waiting right now and talking to each other and commenting. And you can join in by simply need a Gmail account. And when all of this is over, we have a wonderful Facebook group where all of this continues. We're more than 1,100 members right now, which is really nice. And it's still growing. And it's a great place to be. You can share what you're listening to, pictures of your radios, and there's a lot happening actually in the group. And often when I listen to the radio, I actually post on the group also, tell everybody what I'm listening to, or if there's some unusual event of some sort, we're going to talk about it and post the information. People from all around the world, and this is the fun part of here, doing this is seeing how there is, there's people from every continent, and seeing everybody that is watching and where they are from. And that's why when you say hello for the first time, you should always say from where you are, not just for me, but it's fun for others to know where everybody is. And it's kind of cool. So sorry for being a little in the late side with everything. I'm going to take my first sip. Cheers, everybody. Calvin, nice to have you here. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. Mark Cope in Dallas, Texas, good afternoon. WA5153SWL is the shortwave listener call sign. Archers out of Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board. Joe Rutman, nice to have you here. Joe from Chicago. Paul just went outside. He was here not even a minute before I started the stream, and now he's outside in the backyard. WOHP1390, nice to have you here. Rick, W8PRR, and from Ohio. Paul is pretty good. His normal self, his normal kitty self. Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL in Louisiana. Randall Klontz, Northeast Illinois, nice to have you here. Julio El Trelero, nice to have you here from the West Coast. Jeff King, nice to have you on board from Jacksonville, Florida. Keegan, nice to have you here, X1080Xer in Northwest Arkansas. William Conlon, nice to have you here. Trond, nice to have you on board from Norway. Jawahar Bami, nice to have you here from Westford, Massachusetts. K1JBD, nice to have you here, my friend. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona, nice to have you on board. John Pigney in Northern Virginia, near DC, pretty cool to have you here. Kevin Wood from Nova Scotia, Canada, VE1 TV. Icadarius, nice to have you here. My live stream just appeared in the recommended feed. Cool. Redelva65 from sunny New York City. James Farley, nice to have you here from Old Bridge, New Jersey. Icadarius, nice to have you here. What do we have? Mark Cancellara, nice to have you here. Sean Peters, nice to have you here, Sean. G. Lee, nice to have you here. WA6120SWL from Hot, California. Joe Tyson, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. Mark has one glass of beer, but that glass holds 1 liter, so that's a lot of beer. Dijan, nice to have you here from Germany, and 32 Celsius today, hottest day of the year. Weather forecast predicts 37 Celsius tomorrow. That's hot. We had a very hot July here in Montreal. I mean, it's just crazy. But next week's going to be a little cooler, and it's going to be nice. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec, and he's working on the August 2020 edition of the CIDX Club Bulletin, and I will be sending you my my article tonight, so you should have it before I go to bed tonight. It's about 60% done, so I'll finish that tonight. You'll have it before, after the show. I'm going to eat and take it easy tonight and work on the August utility column and finish that and send you that over tonight, Sheldon. Catalin, nice to have you here from Germany. Abraham Muller, nice to have you here, Abraham. Let me I lost my space. So Abraham, nice to have you here from Atlanta, Georgia. Robbie Strike, what exactly does a frequency counter do? Good question. Well, it actually will simply, with the antenna. So, for example, if I have a transmitter, a CB radio next to me, anything, if I transmit, the frequency counter will actually give me the actual frequency of the transmission. So For the most part, frequency counters are used to verify the accuracy of a frequency of a circuit. So it can be used, for example, this one comes with little probes for electronic circuits. So you can either use the probes, and every electronic device has oscillators that have different frequencies. They have to be in the exact frequency for a device to work well. So you can actually verify. It's going to tell you the frequency of that transmission or that oscillator. If it's ham radio gear, you can transmit, and when it's not too far from the antenna, it will actually give you the frequency. I used it mostly to verify the how exact the frequency of my different walkie-talkies, CB radios and stuff, how accurate they are when I broadcast and transmit. So this tells you if it's off a little bit, and you can do something to actually fix the problem. So it's what it does. It counts the numbers of cycles per second of a transmission or of a signal, and it displays the frequency. So this one goes from 1 megahertz all the way up to, I think, 1.3 gigahertz. And sometimes, if you're very close, some people with some success have used these to find what frequency a transmitter is on, because you can use it for that. So if you see someone broadcasting or with a walkie-talkie talking, or some kind of HT or transmitter, you can get close and you'll actually see the displayed frequency of that transmission. So it gives you the frequency that you're transmitting on. So that's pretty much it. René Charbonnier, nice to have you on board from a very hot Netherlands. Ecadarius says, I look at the picture of the live stream, and this is what I think what Jill is saying. Paul the cat slept on my radio again. Man. Anthony Lavado, nice to have you on board from Canada. Bob Lewis, nice to have you on board. Please tell us when you're going to review the Ethon Elite Executive Radio. That should be posted, I would say, probably tomorrow, Saturday. But I'll talk about it a little bit also. I've been playing around with it all week. Just didn't have the time to, because I wanted to test a little more the medium wave side of it and the long wave side of it, which I'll do tonight. And so I would say tomorrow there's going to be the Ethon Elite Executive Radio review is going to be there. Text by D2D, nice to have you on board. Bobby Burgess, happy birthday. Hope that everything is going well. Hey, Jay Jolie, nice to have you on board. And from downtown COVID Central Montreal. Nice to have you here, my friend. Lee Burkett, nice to have you on board from the UK. Understand the times, listening on the way home from work, KC8KSK. Tom in South Carolina. What else do we have? Kadarius is in Copperas Cove, Texas. Paul the Cat rocks. Cat Magazine 1976. Nice to have you on board from sunny Michigan. Catalan says, did Paul climb on the antennas? No, but it's so funny because one of the loops was quite low at some point. And Paul has this, so I have a little table with chairs in the front balcony. And Paul always goes on the table and sometimes goes, puts his paws on the ramp and looks down. And, I'm three stories high, so it's like always a little scary for me to see Paul looking down. But once he was looking at the loop, and I thought, man, are you thinking of like going on the loop or something? Forget it. Radioactive, nice to have you here. W7WXV in Prineville, Oregon, receiving some slow scan TV on 14230. Let's check it out here if I have any SSTV signals coming in upper side bands. I'm going to leave it like that. See if I can hear some slow scan television. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here from Southwest Cornwall. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Type and drive. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Tech Spy is, oh yeah, look at that. There is some, let me try to, just going to do something here. Sound settings. Stereo mix, enable. Try to decode some slow scan TV. So here's some slow scan TV for you. Robbie Strike is in Kingston, Ontario. Michael Morossi, nice to have you here. MLA30 picked up call sign ZL1WN from Auckland, New Zealand. 14283 on my Texan S2000. Cool. That's cool, Michael. So we got the end part, but we'll leave it like that. Maybe he's gonna get more slow scan pictures. I unfortunately started halfway through the picture, so we're gonna check that out. But it seems to work well. William Conlon, yeah, Paul the Cat picture. I thought that since Paul the Cat isn't often here, I would put a picture in the background so you guys can still see Paul the Cat. Nathan Burgess, nice to have you here from the UK. Catalan, is there anyone from the Southern Hemisphere, Brazil, Africa, Australia? I know we have a lot of Brazilians on the show. John Pickney, Canadian Club Chairman, Select and Bold Ginger Ale for me today. Cool. Cool. Matt says, I can see on my SDR how far off frequency a lot of CB equipment is. Yeah, you can see it easily on an SDR, absolutely. And I mean a lot, especially the people that are using like old CBs that have been lying around for ages. And you could see that they drifted over time and they're off by, and sometimes you even hear it. I remember listening to a guy and man, he was like 2 to 3 kilohertz off on the channels. It was crazy. William Helm says his new apartment is in a dead spot. 10 feet of 4 AWG wire shorted to loop 2 feet in diameter and 8-inch coax balance for VHF, UHF. Alexis Irving, nice to have you here. UK, 35 degrees today. Wow. What else do we have? Yeah, Bobby. I said happy birthday. Andy Colley, nice to have you here. John Pickney, would any of the hams like to organize an HF net or nets? I'll be on HF from the house soon. Why not? Why not go on a frequency and you guys can chat and we'll try to get that here. Sid, EI3IEB, nice to have you here from Dublin. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Nicodarius, Paul the Cat reminds me of Morris the Cat from the 9 Lives commercial. Yes, absolutely. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you here. And here we go. A picture is downloading from SlowScan Television. Javon Robin Milligan, nice to have you on board, celebrating his 17th birthday today. A young teenage, almost into the adulthood. Enjoy your 17 years old. Max Headstrong, nice to have you here. From Michigan. What's the difference between Kodar and Bradar? You know what? It's the first time I hear that term. Kodar, Bradar. That is interesting. Let's check it out here. So, hey, we got a nice little picture, a little noisy, but not too bad, from AB0P. So you can actually make it even bigger so you guys could see. I'm not sure, Lee. I need to brush up on that knowledge. Moria 330. Speaking of SSTV, any recommendations about a good option for Android? On Android, I have Robot 36. Download Robot 36, and you will decode. It decodes well. In here, more pictures. It's always fun to decode these SlowScan TV pictures. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yep, Robot 36. Everybody. Matt is receiving the same image. Cool. DGen was listening to Radio Taiwan International with their annual direct broadcast from Taiwan. Recorded it with his new Sanjian audio recorder. Cool. Juan amigo, ¿cómo está mi amigo from Barcelona, Spain? Nice to have you here. Bradar. Robbie Strike, the SlowScan is on 14230, which is a standard frequency for SlowScan TV from AM Radio. So this one's a little more noisy, but kind of cool to see somebody doing some SSTV. I don't know what you could use to decode SlowScan TV on a Linux machine, though. I'm not sure what you could use. Anybody have a suggestion for a Linux SlowScan TV? This, for those that wonder what that is, this is on Windows. I'm using SSTV, which works quite nicely. So this one, kind of nice. No, weather to image is not for SlowScan TV. SlowScan TV is an amateur mode, so SSTV on Windows. This is what I use. I know some use other apps. You could use Robot 36 for Android on your phone or tablet. The main frequencies for SlowScan TV are in the amateur band. The only one I remember by heart all the time is the one in the 20-meter band. 14230 is the main frequency usually. So, and there's a lot of SlowScan TV from pirate stations, by the way. So if you listen to pirate radio stations, you will often have a lot of there's a lot of pirates. There's one that particularly that like broadcasts all the time. I'm hearing a very weak one in the background, but it's not strong enough to trigger the software. Kind of interesting. I'm going to have to check that out, Lee. That's for sure. Dan, nice to have you here from Ohio, N8WJZ. Sinan Awad, nice to have you here from Bulgaria. Cool, that's fun when you get the really nice, beautiful decodes with a good signal. Scott, nice to have you here. Scott Cranston from steamy Massachusetts. Here we're going to have a little cooler temperatures. Matt says, in a moment, I'm going to see if I have SSTV properly configured for transmit. Yeah, it'd be cool to see an SSTV picture. We're at 3:30 says, this past Sunday, the mighty KBC did a slow scan TV broadcast, but I wasn't fast enough to set up a way to decode it. Yeah, I think it's not slow scan that they're using. I think they're using MFSK 32 or something like that to send the pictures, if I'm not mistaken. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here. My listening plans for the weekend. I tend to not. I don't usually have a plan. For any listening in general. But, when I have time, I just turn on the radio and tune around. I hear some slow scan in the background, but it's very weak. It's not strong enough to decode. But I do hear there's some slow scan right now. So, I just turn on the radio and search for pirates and do stuff like that most of the time. I rarely set myself a specific goal of stations or things to listen to. I really like to kind of go around and tune, and that's it. So, but it's also a question of having time. Sometimes on the weekends, it depends what I have to do. But it's a question of having time to do it, also. But of course, I will be doing some radio listening for sure this weekend. Well, I did hear some weak SSTV in the background. So it could have been you, Matt, but it was so weak that the software didn't decode. DJan WWCR on 13845, and that one is a blowtorch here. It's really, 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 really cool. What else do we have? Mr. Papa Giorgio. What else do we have? What else do we have? Gilles Neveu, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Heard the numbers, lady. Co-channel on WBCQ. Lolo Parkovsky, nice to have you here. So, to talk about the Eton Elite Executive, it's over there, but it's kind of complicated for me to go and get it right now. It's a nice radio. It is a good performer on shortwave. It easily overloads. That's one of the things I noticed, that I can't really put my sloper on it because it overloads too easily. But it works well. I love the display. If you are the kind of person that don't like DSP based portables, stay away from it, because it has all the weirdness of DSP radios. Actually, it's funny because as I'm using it, I just find it so similar to the XH Data D808. It has all the same features. It has the same bandwidths. It's almost as if they took the same circuit board and just applied it in a different layout of a radio with a different type of display. But overall, it's a nice performer. It's a nice radio. It has nice, strong sound out of the speaker. And anyways, I'll post my review on YouTube probably tomorrow, Saturday. But if you don't like a DSP-based radio, if you don't want a radio that when you tune, it actually mutes the tuning, then it's not for you. It's really not for you. D-Gen, Matt says, Numbers Lady has been using 9330 at that time longer than WBCQ has. Yeah. 9330 has been a long time frequency of the Number Lady. D-Gen says BBC World Service via Ascension Island 12095 strong S9. Cool. Comex the SSTV on 14230. Pretty much most of it is there. There are a few other SSTV based. So, if I look here, I'm going to go to just going to check out SSTV frequencies. So, slow scan TV frequencies on shortwave for ham radio operators. So, in the 40-meter band, 7171, and on the 20-meter band, it's 14230. Here they state that 14230 and 14233, and they state that Europe often uses 14240. And I didn't know that there were some on. There's a narrow mode MP73N to use on the 30-meter band, 13132. Huh, interesting. 80 meters, 3845, 3730 for Europe, 3733. And 160 meters, 1890 kilohertz. 15 meters is 21340. And there's even 11 meters for those that are out of bounds, out of band. $10 meters, 28680. Interesting. I'm going to keep that list of slow scan TV frequencies. It's going to be kind of interesting to try other frequencies also. John Pickney. Once I'm QRV, I'll let the group know. Figure about 2 weeks or so. How about suggestions on which band? 20 might work best for North America, 40 for East Coast. So yeah, 20 meters would be nice to check it out. Jill Nover says, I can't run an antenna outside my apartment. What radio would you suggest? It'll be my third one. What do you have right now? What are the two radios you've got? No, I mean, Max Headstrong, the weirdness of DSP radios is I'm talking more about the tuning of the radio itself. When you tune around with DSP based portables, there's kind of a weird way that it does it. It's not like an analog smooth style tuning around. It's really, really bizarre how DSP radios respond in the portables. Um, it's more of that type of weirdness, and they all use the same chip, which is the silicon integrated 4735, 4734 ish. And what happens is that there's also some weird AGC thing when the signals fade out or in. It is it's weird. It's different the way that it actually is. Sean Frizzle, nice to have you here from the UK. G7PUW. George says, for Linux, you can try OpenWebRX. The project has been discontinued, though it still kind of exists. He's a user since Linux user since 1996. GPRX, which is kind of basic. You can find QSDR systems online and use them online. So nice to have you here. David in Barcelona, EA3, IEK, Raptor 22 Stealth. And nice to have you here from Barcelona, Spain. Weathering the heat here in the QTH, not really going outdoors much, and stress testing the air conditioning. Scott says the DSP chuffing was one of the main reasons donated the Ethon. Also, just my personal preference. I prefer the LCD displays. You know, we all have our preferences and things we like, we don't like. I have to say that DSP-based portables have their quirks and quirks. And for some people, it's just something that they can't really see themselves using, that they get annoyed at the radio more than anything else. It doesn't bother me too much personally, but like I said, I rarely, I punch in the frequencies on the radios. I rarely tune around with a portable. It's interesting because probably because I have other radios that I prefer tuning on. So if I want to tune the bands, I'll tune them on this SDR, or I'll tune them on the ICOM ICRD500. I almost never use a portable to tune around in search of signals. But if I would have, or if I would do it, I would probably get, like my Grundig G5, which is analog, and or maybe the Texan PL680. That would be better choice for just tuning around, searching signals. Because for searching for signals, the muting from the DSP-based receiver would probably annoy me, because it is kind of not really a lot of fun to do so. Wolfgang, nice to have you on board from Austria. Mark Elford, nice to have you here. Yeah, chuffing, muting, and all the different ways that we will talk about, Rodrigo Galter, nice to have you here. And from Brazil, listening to Shortwave on his Texan PL660. Okay. You could get either Joe. You could either get a Texan PL660, which is a nice portable, nice choice. Not too expensive, but not DSP based, so it actually tunes better and has no muting and tuning. Or else you can move to a Raddy Wow R108, which for a 40, 50-ish dollar radio is pretty surprising. Does not have single sideband. And the XH Data D808 is an amazing radio. But you'll have to understand when you tune all the frequencies, there's a muting in the tuning that could annoy you. But they are very sensitive and very good. I've actually never demonstrated DSB, really. Degen says, I think what can compare to fading on DSP radios with digital TV, it's kind of pixel-like in my opinion. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, Max S strong chuffing, soft muting, it's all the same. Yep. I would say if you get a Texan PL660, you'll be very happy. It has single sideband, and for the price range, you can't have much better. Honestly, they're all at that price range, pretty good. Dale, nice to have you here. KD7SSL. So the DSP radios, that's a product, but they're not all equal. And so when the signal fades, it kind of drops off rather than, like on an analog radio, it goes noisier, but it's still audible. On many DSP-based radios, it just goes down and then cuts off, which is weird. It's as if the detector out, the AGC isn't right. And I know that they could fix that. It's, but maybe it could be the chip that is a problem here. James de Calais, nice to have you on board from Golden Sands, Bulgaria. James Johnson, what do you think of the Ethon for a sideband radio? I think it was pretty good. It is pretty solid performer on the sideband side of things. I like it. One thing about the chuffing or the muting is that in single sideband it isn't as bad. You could actually you could tune around in single sideband and it's much less pronounced than on AM. So tuning around in single sideband is actually not bad. It's very good. I've tried many single sideband singles with it and it works great. Mark Elford, moved half a block from a powerful FM station, and my airwaves are full of high-pitched noise. I have to find a way around this. You'll have to install yourself a filter to remove the FM broadcast band. This will be the only way that you'll be able to get back decent reception. Max Headstrong, I did not do a lot of medium wave testing on the Ethon Elite Executive. I will tonight try to do a little more and compare it with a couple of radios that I know are pretty good there. That's why I haven't done my review yet, because I haven't really fully tested that capability. Vianney Arsenault, bonjour et bienvenue de l'Est du Québec. Nice to have you here from the eastern part of Quebec, Canada. I have not yet received the QA100 satellite, Catalan. There's a couple that I need to try that I haven't tried yet. Terry Cook, nice to have you here from Western Montana, KF7BQ. David, KJ4CMY, yeah, Radiwell R108. Okay. Because if you want to pay something really, if you have the money for something more advanced, so you can maybe look at some tabletop models. But honestly, in terms of portables, when you are reaching $100 and go in the 100 to 150 to $100 range, apart from features and that some are DSP and some are not, the performance of all of them is very, very similar. So what you could be checking out, but the problem is you can't put an outdoor antenna, so it really limits a lot the reception. And without an outdoor antenna, I don't think having a really high-end radio is gonna be helpful. But you definitely can have better than what you have as radios, though. And I would look at the Texan PL660. George says Texan PL660 is a good modern portable. In an apartment, you could use a long wire portable antenna. I was going to say RadioWow is my go-to travel radio and works well. So Max Headstrong says, I did a fair amount of side-by-side testing between Eton Elite, Executive Sangean 909, Texan PL880, Sony 7600. I found them to be all very, very close in performance, but all on the whip. Yeah. Yeah. More the PL660 than the PL600. The PL600 has a little bit of weirdness. It has harsh audio. The audio of the 660 is better. Dale, I have a question. I feel silly asking. What antenna and antenna connection should I use for a Grundig G3 and only has a mono 3.5 millimeter headphone jack? I tried mono to RCA to PL250 without success. If you have an adapter, it should technically work. It should technically work. So I don't know why it would not on the 3.5 millimeter jack. Matt says, I have a PL600, and I always tell folks I wish I paid a bit more for the PL660. The 600 is fine, but it has drawbacks, especially with its SSB demodulation. Yeah. That's why I always push people to the 660 instead. It's a little better. A little better. Wolfgang says, my favorite DSP is the Belka DSP. Well, that's different because it's kind of more of a SDR. Fernando, nice to have you here. Texan PL310ET is an excellent affordable radio. It is pretty good, and the easy tuning mode is fun. Boomer, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. 11 meter, no license needed, FM, 5 watts, and 40 channels. David Bennett, nice to have you here from North California. James Farley says, I'll keep my R5000. It's a decent radio. When it gets older, it becomes a little more touchy, and sometimes there's need for some capacitors. Can you wait, guys? I just heard the doorbell. I'm just going to go check out what is the problem. So back in 2 seconds. Okay, we're back. It was a neighbor that was couldn't open the door, and there's a big thunderstorm outside. Well, no lightning or anything, but it's raining real hard. Okay, here we are once again. Let me just check here quickly. Elizabeth in Regina, Saskatchewan. Nice to have you here. Saying hello through the email. So nice to have you on board, Elizabeth. Take the time to check out my phone. And so everything's all right. So, wow, it's an interesting weather outside. Okay. Cool one. Nice to have you here. I like listening to aviation bands and finding the planes above my house in Flight Radar 24. Do you do that? Yeah, I often did that. I live, here where the I live in a path of approach for the local airport in Montreal, so I can tell you that it's there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of planes. It's a little more quiet than it was, but the only thing I would say, Gilles, you could try a loop like the MLA30, but you obviously are in a bad position. No, Wolfgang, I never tested the Belka DSP. It looks nice, though. Catalan says Skywave SSB is too expensive. It's more expensive. It does have a little bit more. It does come with a power adapter. It does come with the weather channel here for North America, but it is a little expensive, absolutely. It's a little tinny in its sound also with a small speaker. But it works well for what that's for sure. It does really, really well. But it's DSP based. That's chuffing muting also. So what else do we have? Nick, nice to have you here. K9XN from Indy, USA. Rudolph Smith, nice to have you here. Oh, there was just a... I guess there is some lightning. So Paul is outside. And I tried to call him when I noticed that it was raining, but I don't know. He's not around. What else do we have? Is there some... It's doing something, but too weak. What else do we have? Jeff Barrett, nice to have you here. I need a test pattern. Hold Indian head. Oh my God. I remember. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here. WA0113SWL. Nice to have you on board. And what else do we have? Jeff Barrett says, do you know over 1 million wash border area and only let that sink in? Oh, man. Nah, down the t-shirts. Yeah, I do have a world map on that side, but it's behind. It's behind the almost everything. It's crazy. Tom DXer, WPE2QED. I say, have you heard from the lower Hudson Valley, New York? What else do we have? Keegan, there's a test pattern from CBFT TV Channel 2 Montreal, Quebec, received in Illinois in 1988 on YouTube. Oh, wow. Dale says, I haven't ran any antennas outside in my 3-year-old house. What antenna or antenna type do you recommend to use inside? I'd say the MLA30 is probably the best choice, especially for indoor. Kathleen, Joel, can you do a video on the airband reception? Yeah, I have a couple, but what I want to do that would be cool here is kind of try to position the camera so that the scanner radio would be there and the planes, you would see the planes arrive. I think it could be very, very nice. John McClure, nice to have you here. Don't even have to tune to 1 megahertz to see the lightning on the waterfall. It's probably visible there when it happens. Matambali has Radio New Zealand on 13840. Michael, nice to have you here. Yep, that's pretty much what I have. Cool one, a Cape Codder vodka cranberry juice. I never unplug DGen. I'm one of those. I'm one of those that lives on the edge. I almost never unplug my antennas, but I do recommend that you do if there's lightning. RDB, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Frank, nice to have you here from Austria. David remembers when I had the wireless mic. Forgot to turn it off when you left the shack. Especially when you go for a pee. Paul Mayer, nice to have you here. Jeff Barrett says, in addition to shortwave listening, I love medium wave DXing. Just bought a Sony ICF S5W from a very nice ham in Indianapolis. It's made for medium wave DX. Interesting. Votre esprit Saint-Hubert. The MLA30, a lot of people are using it indoors with pretty good reception. So I wouldn't be surprised that the MLA30 works indoors. I mean, if it's noisy, it's your only possibility, especially if you can't put an antenna outside. Yeah, I am living the life of a bad boy. Crosley Fiver, nice to have you here from El Paso. And David says, I had 2 radios with fried front ends because I didn't unplug them during storms. Better safe than sorry. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Technically, you should all, even if you know you're not going to use radios for a while, you should always unplug even if you're gone for several days. Jeff Barrett, you select the area you want to listen to, analog dial switches in a clear channel. Very strong station names up here on the dial. Cool. That's cool. Mike, ordering an MLA30 tonight, maybe the Plus. Well, you'll probably get the Plus. I think it's only, even if they don't say it, it's almost always the Plus that is actually being shipped. DGen says, you know how worried I am with the wire antenna, but I told myself that only 10% of lightning actually hit the earth. And you know what, DGen, it's even not just that. It's, your wire, chances of your wire being hit by lightning is almost zero. And what is dangerous more with the lightning is, because most people that have radios that would have that would fry because of lightning, for example, because you leave the antenna plugged in, aren't being fried by a direct hit, because you don't need a direct hit to actually have your radio fried. If it just falls near enough, the magnetic field created by that lightning bolt is enough to fry a radio. It doesn't need to hit directly for that to actually happen. So you could have, a lightning bolt fall just, 10 meters away. It could be close enough that it will actually fry a radio. And most of the time when people have, their ham stations destroyed by it's not a direct hit, but it was a close hit. David says static discharges during a storm is what did my radios in. Yeah. And sometimes what happens also is you could have a radio fried by different other means also sometimes. Yeah, near-bear strike could actually really do something. It's really a question of, how close it falls to your antennas when you have an outdoor antenna. Hi, Brawler. Nice to have you here from Arkansas. So this is the interesting part. What else do we have? DGen says, furthermore, I have 2 high trees which should cover the wire completely. Yeah. And anyways, a small, a wire is so small that it would vaporize rather than do anything else. Lieberkit says, I get a reaction in signal strength if my receiver is close to my microwave. Yeah, well, there's a strong magnetic field. When your microwave works, there's a very strong magnetic field around it. So it could have effects on electronic devices. Catalan, no. The lower, what happens with like lightning, for example, the spark that's in the lightning, first of all, is not necessarily not necessarily a specific frequency, but more of a wideband transmission. So it's everywhere. You can hear lightning in the VHF range at 100 megahertz and so on. It's more of a wide range or wideband transmitter when there's a lightning bolt. There is, yes, kind of a peak somewhere and lightning that probably is where it's the strongest, but it's not necessarily 1 megahertz. But when you go down in frequency, you hear more. So that's why, when thunderstorms get close, say that I want to know if thunderstorms are really getting near, what I could do is I will use an AM radio, because in the lower frequencies we hear the lightning from further away. We can actually hear the lightning on a medium wave or an AM radio way before you'll hear anything on an FM radio, for example. So that lower frequency, usually you hear them better. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here. Let's just check here the weather radar. Yeah, it's pretty nice thunderstorm here. Interesting, because there's like almost nothing around. It's really like a thunderstorm that's just crossing the island of Montreal. Joe Tyson, like how the spark gap transmitters in the beginning of radio worked. Very broadband transmitters. Oh, absolutely. Matambale 17146.4, the NMG. Weather facts. Fast load, nice to have you here from Montreal. Phil, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Steve Miller, nice to have you here from Arizona, USA. David says, KJ4CMY, good old analog television. I still remember picking up Channel 2 from Miami in upstate New York. Could not watch Channel 2 very often that summer. You're at Zoe Bar, Mr. Fastload. Enjoy your meal. I guess you're eating and having a beer. I remember when it's so funny because picking up faraway TV transmissions with an analog TV is something, man, that I loved, and I actually, it was totally by accident that I learned that the lower TV channels would skip from far away sometimes when there was sporadic E-skip and stuff like that. Being the guy that is a fan of really always, I've always been the guy that tried different, anything that would receive radio or whatever. So television was also for that. And we had an old, it was I think it was a 17-inch or 16-inch black and white TV that my parents would not use anymore. And I would often set that up in the kitchen table and plug in, a wire or wires to make a makeshift antenna. And I would often tune around the VHF and UHF channels, because one of the fun things that I liked was to pick up TV channels from far away. I remember I was listening to Channel 7 from Sherbrooke, Channel 8, I believe, from Cornwall near Ottawa. I would get Channel 3 from Burlington. I would also get Channel 5 from Plattsburgh, New York. And sometimes when conditions were, like temperature inversions, I would sometimes have Channel 4 from Quebec coming in. So regularly I would scan the VHF, UHF range and look what I was getting. And on the UHF range, I would get Channel 33 and 57 from, I think, from Burlington, Vermont. And I remember it was I think a Friday evening. I turned on the black and white TV, set it up in the kitchen. It was a hot summer day. And something weird was happening. When I tuned to Channel 4, because here in Montreal, the channels that were occupied were 2, 6, 10, and 12 on VHF. So it was kind of a little difficult on Channel 3 because it was so close to Channel 2. Same for Channel 5. It was a little hard because of Channel 6. But Channel 4 was perfect because it was far away enough to not have the interference from the closed channels. And I still remember I turned to Channel 4, and there was a really clear picture of something in English, and I had never, the only station I would have heard in Channel 4 was the Quebec station, and it was in French. And I remember they were playing Jeopardy. And it faded out, faded back in. Sometimes there'd be another station fading in instead. And I was so amazed. I was like, what's happening? What am I receiving? And that's when I started listening. It's like, okay, I'm going to watch until the the ID. And of course, the first ID at the top of the hour, I didn't see it because the signal had faded out when the ID was playing and faded back in. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to wait longer. And that's when I saw that Channel 4 at one point was from Alabama. And I was like, wow, I'm getting a TV station from Alabama. And I tried Channel 3 and Channel 5 after that. And both were having stations come in and go out. But it was more difficult on those channels. So I ended up watching that TV station from Alabama for as long as it worked. And at some point later in the evening, it just was gone. And the propagation was gone. But it piqued my curiosity suddenly because I started thinking, wow, you can get stations from far away with a TV on these channels. I had no idea. I was still fairly brand new to radio in general, so I didn't know a lot about the propagation characteristics and the possibilities of what VHF could actually bring. I had no idea about what was sporadic E-skip. I had zero idea. It's much later when I came to, I think it was Monitoring Times. It could have been Popular Communications also. They had an article about TV DXing. That's where I learned about sporadic E-skip. I learned that, okay, they will propagate like shortwaves when conditions are right. And I learned what all of that was all about. Because before, I had no idea. I was just, what's happening? How come I'm receiving these stations from so far away? I had no idea. What else do we have? Phil, G8BHB. Nice to have you on board from the UK. Joe Tyson. Yeah, there's also tropospheric ducting and stuff like that when there's temperature inversions. But when it's very far away, it's really the sporadic E-skip that has it working. Shelley, nice to have you on board from Pennsylvania. So that was kind of cool. Dasley, first time here, just bought a shortwave receiver. Can someone point me to a good beginner website? What you mostly need to know is station schedules and stuff. But swling.com is a great website to start. Lots of beginner stuff there. Of course, there's a lot of videos on the channel here to help you understand more about the radio also. David, KJ4CMY, most of those channels you're talking about I'm familiar with. His Ham 56 Hamilton. Is Grundig radios bought by Texan? They look the same. Actually, what happens is that because Grundig isn't it's just a name now. It isn't Grundig like the good old days when they were made in, that from Germany and all. Today, Grundig is just a name. So you see several radios that have the same look and that are the same receivers, but with Ethon or Grundig or different other names on them. Unfortunately, there's no more real Grundig radio. It's really just a name, so they could put that name on anything and sell it as what they want. DGen says, last year I had FM stations from Spain. They were all over the band, so strong that some local stations didn't even came through. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I've had a few people tell me, you know what? I have a few people telling me that they do a lot of HDTV DXing, and I'm kind of surprised and amazed at that. I actually want to plug an antenna on this Sony TV here to see if at some point I can actually get anything, but it must be difficult because HDTV is not like analog. Analog, it fades out. There was some noise, there was some snow, and there was a picture, but you could still see it. On HDTV, it's you see something or you don't, and that's much different. But one of the interesting aspects of HDTV that could be cool is if you get a strong enough signal for just enough time, you actually have the ID and the tag because it will tell you what station that is. David Barcelona lost a PL600 to static that had accumulated on an outdoor wire antenna after leaving the coax unplugged for a few days. The day when using the radio outdoors, it crackled and went silent. There's that is a possibility, especially portable receivers particularly are very sensitive to static discharges. You could zap a radio if you're not careful, not just with having your outdoor wire. What I do very often, or what I'll say to everybody to do is, plug your radio to a piece of metal before plugging it back to a metal frame or something, or if you can just put it to ground temporarily so that it removes all the static electricity. It's better because you could fry a radio with static buildup. Remember when your wire is outside and if it's windy, all that air moving around your wires creates a static charge. And yeah, it could fry a radio. Same in the winter time mostly, but if you live in a place where it's very dry, be extremely careful because if if you have carpet, for example, in the winter time, you walk on the carpet and your body holds a static charge, and when you touch the telescopic antenna of your portable, you can actually fry the radio. Some people, it happened. Cool, Scott. Practice first beer. Yeah, the satellite Granic Satellite 750 is made by Texan, absolutely. Which is it's the Texan S2000. Absolutely. There's really no more, Catalan, on what frequency were the old TVs listening to? Channel 2 to channel 6 were in the range of around 54 to 87 megahertz. In between, the channels were in between the 6-meter ham band. So channel 2 was just above the 6-meter ham band on 50 megahertz. And channel 6 was just below the FM broadcast band on 88 megahertz. Then you had channel 7 through 12, which were much higher in frequency in the VHF range. Well, yeah, I'm sure that when there was the I could see easily East Germans wanting to watch, West German TV and stuff. What else do we have? Byron, nice to have you here from Ecuador, HC3BL. Cool. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here. Rufus from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Done work for the week. Cool. Take care, Cadarius. Yeah, they would. I'm not surprised they would degen the public broadcast service, West Germany, build transmitters close to the GDR border for sure to try to jam the Western stations. What else do we have? Texan is Chinese. How space is made. Yes, absolutely. They can do video signals from the moon. They actually have a lot with the satellites they send. Lee Burkett used to own a very old rediffusion black-white TV radio combo. Use a basic loop aerial for the time era. That was very cool. The radio also included shortwave. Wow, that's kind of cool. It would be possible technically to send a radio to the moon, yes. Nissan Greenwich, nice to have you here. I leave my Sengian ATS 909X on 87.6 all day long here in Dublin with the squelch on. Every once in a while, I get huge signals from all over Europe. Big signals off the whip, and then they fade away. That's a way of doing it, if you want to CTV, it's a radio DX, FM radio DX, you park yourself on the unused FM frequency in your area. Here in Montreal, it's very difficult. The FM band is crowded from one end to the other. So DXing is very, very difficult because there's so many stations in Montreal. The FM band is pretty much saturated. John Todd. The other is Radio Garden, where you can listen to commercial radio stations all over the world. Yeah, but it's not the same as listening with a radio. Yeah, Texan does have quite a few radios that are really, really, really nice. Payne says, I'm using a Texan PL600 with a long wire right now and have good reception of radio from Greece on 9420. Cool. Salut Hubert. Bienvenue. Nice to have you on board. Those boy are those Friday shows a good start to the weekend. Matt says, I think that's what happened to one of my to my one receiver. The MLA 30 was still hooked up to it. Because there's so many things that can actually fry a radio. In just a windy day, or in in snow in the wintertime. I've seen a lot of videos and comments of people showing that when it's snowing and windy at the same time, all that rubbing of the snowflakes and the hair around the wire or the antenna, man, it really builds a charge. That's why technically you should always unplug the antenna. Kathleen is looking for Yupiteru MVT 9000. Mark Schmidt, nice to have you here from Maine. Rufus, I have a few tube Grundigs from Germany that were great. Well, I've got my Grundig Satellite Transistor 6001 here, which is an amazing radio, built in 1969. Graham Taplin, nice to have you on board from Milton, Ontario. Pretty good. John Pickney says the real trip was getting Cuban TV. Yes, Dijon, I did see the pictures. It was really nice to see that, to look at that when you posted the posts of the Grundig Radio Museum. Paul Mayer, if you could only keep one receiver, would it be an SDR or standard shortwave? If I really had only one, I would probably choose an SDR. I would miss not having an SDR more than I would miss having a regular radio. D-Gen says, my aunt grew up in the GDR. She told me you would automatically be subject to the police and Secret Service if you had large antennas on the roof pointing west. I'm pretty sure they must have been looking at that for sure. Hey, John Pickney, take care, my friend. Always nice to have you here. McGlone, nice to have you here. Take care, Kathleen. David, yeah, sandstorms, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that causes some kind of friction can cause static, and it can fry a radio. Some radios are better at having a protection for that than others. John, nice to have you on board. Just finished his homebrew X-Beam this weekend. Cool. McGlone is from West Florida. Matambale 13740, Radio Havana, Cuba. Liam, should I buy a PL880 or PL660? Both are great. Go for whatever you feel you want. Pretty much. Yeah, Texan PL660 is a really good choice at around 100, 120. That would be a really nice choice. Dejan says there were little antenna communities in the GDR. They would put up one big antenna for West German TV and would connect several TVs to that. These could easily found in smaller villages. Yeah, there was those were really, really curious times, honestly. Because I mean, wow, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So you're watching the Shortwave show, and we are talking about radio. We are talking about get out here. Anything interesting radio-wise? So this week I didn't do a lot of radio. I did a little bit of it, but I did not really do much radio this week. I was more as I was doing other stuff. I've been testing out different things. I have I received a screen projector that can actually go up to about 100-inch in size on a screen, and having fun playing around with that. It's not the best. It's a really cheap one, but I've been playing with that more this week and checking out the stuff. But I sometimes and I got a question about that, asking do you sometimes take a break off of radios? And absolutely, I need, and I think we all do need some break from radio from time to time. So regularly, I will have a few days without even turning on the radio and do other things, which I think is a good and a sane way of doing something, because you can easily get radio overload. You can get to a point where you just don't feel like it anymore because the radio is you do too much radio, and you can get bored after a certain time doing too much radio. So from time to time I will have a few days that I'm not even turning on the radio, and it makes it more enjoyable also, because if you take a break off of radio for a while, when you turn it back on, it's more fun. You took that break did help, and helps spark a little more interest. Over the years, my radio hobby was an off and on thing. I didn't listen to, so I started, seriously and intensely in 1982. But even back then, I was a big fan of Commodore. I had the Commodore computer, and even back then, I remember I would be intense radio listening for a few weeks, and then I could be, a week or two without even turning on the radio, doing just computer stuff, and alternate like this. I've had some periods of times when I almost didn't listen to the radio. I know when I got my first job, full-time job, when you're a student, when you have more time on your hands, you have time for radio and stuff with other things in life. In the teenage years that I listened to in 82 and so on, what was interesting is you have a lot of time in your hand. You got your summer vacations where I would just, listen to the radio and have fun with my friends. But what was interesting is, when I got my first full-time job, suddenly time was much more complicated to have. You know what probably makes me listen a lot to the radio now is, well, yeah, because the things that I do here, but also the fact that I work from home a lot is, I work, I can make videos, I can do stuff, and the radio can be on in the background, which, helps me do some radio more. But when you are working, full-time job and outside of the house, well, then your time becomes more precious. You're trying to do all sorts of things, and you'll be, you'll be um, choosing what activity you do, and then the weekends and stuff. So it's normal to have off moments that you might not turn on the radio. I've had some of those moments. Since I do this show, I've been listening very steadily, every week, at least a few days every week, because also I have the channel, so I need to talk about a radio, so of course I'll use radio. But before all of this started, I mean, I did have times, when I moved here. First of all, the first disappointment was the high noise level. And what happened is that did kind of put me off radio a little bit. And when I moved here, radio was, I would have months at a time that I didn't listen to the radio. And then I would turn it on and listen to stuff. It was more of a, when I moved here, I try to remember, but from what I remember, my radio time was more of a winter thing. I'd turn on the radio mostly in the winter, and plus with the noise, it was complicated. So it was, my setup was in the kitchen, and I was listening in the kitchen because it was a place where I could easily get a wire outside, and it was the place where where my noise level was the lowest. So for a long time, that's where I was. I was, always in the kitchen listening to the radio. So sometimes, when your radio is not necessarily in your office or your favorite place, that can also put you off a little bit. Another thing also that, somebody was asking me, well, how would you go to install a shack or have your little radio spot? And it's important to have a radio area. Sorry. It's important to have a little radio area because, you do yourself a little cozy place with a nice, comfy chair, little table. You don't need to have, it all depends, everybody, but and it depends of the budget and what you have. But you don't need to have, a big shack with 1 million radios. Just a good, comfy chair with a little table and a couple of radios, or even one radio. As long as you install yourself in a place where you're actually happy. Interesting. I was not looking at the screen, but there's some slow scan TV still going on. So it's something that is important to be comfortable, and because the noise level in our hobby, it's kind of complex to really have install yourself at your favorite spot. Unfortunately, if in a real cool world, that would be perfect. You could install yourself, in the living room with your radio and be happy. Unfortunately, with the noise level around us, and sometimes you need to have an antenna outdoor, and the way that it comes in your house, what happens is that you actually need to sometimes have your little shack in a weird spot, a spot that you're not, it's not necessarily the best place in the world, but but it's the place where you can actually have decent reception. So, that also means that, well, whatever place you need to listen to, wherever you are sitting down with your radios, well, try to make it comfy, and that's your shack, that's your little spot, your little radio spot. What else do we have? What else do we have? Oh, really, Maglan? Watching my show on repeats? It's kind of interesting when you go back and you go back in time. I stumbled upon, it's funny because when you start Googling shortwave stuff and you notice that all your videos are popping up like on the first, and you look back at a live show from 5 years ago and you're like, wow, things have changed. John Martlitz, using a web SDR based in Strasbourg with access to 6 meter, 50 megahertz ham band. I tried first time the QO100 option, which gave me access to 4 meter, 70 megahertz band, heard QSO of German hams, North Sea coast. Cool. Charles, I only have Apple products, but I want to use Skywave Schedules app. I was thinking of buying an inexpensive Android tablet to use the app. Does this make sense to you? I would say yes. Get yourself a cheap tablet. Don't go too cheap, because the cheap ones are very sluggish because they're not very powerful. But get yourself something decent. The one I have, a 10-inch tablet that I purchased, it's not available anymore, but I paid it like $149 on Amazon, and I was very happy with it. It was, not the fastest thing around, but it was nice, and I liked the fact that you could, that it had a 10-inch screen, which was much bigger. But it is a it is an idea. It is a good idea that you could be doing that. Jeffrey Chan, nice to have you on board. I want to start shortwave. I'm looking for a lunchbox size portable, but with RCA output, because I might amplify FM music sometimes. Would you recommend? Well, with an RCA output, anyone would have a recommendation with RCA jacks on them. Degen says, I took a break of radio yesterday and the day before. Won't do any radio tomorrow, as I will visit my grandma. Radioactive. Speaking of things that can fry the front end, Art Bell had his 3,190 feet loop. It would nominally induce around 600 volts on the coax in the radio. Wow. Okay. Kind of interesting. William Moser, nice to have you here. So, Michael, that's what I said. I recommended something like, a PL660, Texan PL660. Or it could go for a PL at $300 US. You easily can get a Texan PL 880. They're great radios. Ulysses Chialva, nice to have you here from Argentina. Super 20Dan, nope. Grenic G5 and Degen 1103 are different radios inside. The Grenic G5 and the Ethon E5 are the same radios. But the DGen 1103 is a very different radio than the Greenwich G5 is. Alexis, nice to have you on board. Take care, my friend. Charles says, I had a Kindle and never was able to sideload any Android apps. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let me just check it out here. Okay. Take care, Joe. It's nice to have you here. Paul Mayer. So are you ham, or if not, have you ever tried transmitting either Part 15 or Pirate? I'm not a ham, but I did do a lot of Part 15 transmissions. And I do have, walkie-talkies and CB radio here. Never really did Pirate. Although when I did some Part 15, I would tweak them to have a little more power. So I was technically a Pirate because it was probably a little more powerful than what Part 15 should be. K6YYL, nice to have you here, Kimberly. When I first got my technician license, I had my first radio, the Kenwood TS130S. I was sitting on the floor literally, and I had it there and sat on the floor for 2 years. So that's an example of, you do radio the way you can. Med El Grawi, nice to have you here. Take care, Tom DXer. Matt, just got a QSL card in the mail from a ham in Maine. Cool. What else do we have? What else do we have? William Moser eventually, possibly, but for now, I actually take breaks from live shows a little bit even here because it's very demanding. Doing live shows is extremely demanding. It doesn't show, but being alert and being there for hours at a time, talking to people is something that is not only takes a lot of your time, but is kind of tiresome at some point. So when you do too many, you got to be careful not to do too many because you can easily burn out. I know because, when I was doing the tech show stuff and the VHF channel stuff and this channel here, at some point I just got fed up. And, I don't want to get to a point where I am so fed up that I just don't want to do live shows anymore. So I rather take it easy. I have less live shows, but, at least there's live shows. Once again, for those that weren't there at the beginning, next week there are no shows. I'm taking the week off. And in the month of August, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to take 1 week off. 1 week we'll have shows, 1 week off, and we'll get back to normal with weekly shows somewhere in early September. But I do need a little bit of a break. It gets to a point where sometimes it's a little too much. Coming Z76, cool leaking SSTV behind you. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's nice. DGen says, I have noticed something strange. I was listening to my RSP1A, and while doing that, I switched on my FRG7, and suddenly the RSP1A stopped working. I had to restart the software. Seems they were interfering. Are they on the same antenna? Because the FRG7 being plugged into the wall outlet, there could be some electric feedback through the antenna. You got to be careful to make sure you don't zap the RSP1A. Radioactive says someone in California now has Art Belt's call sign W6OB. Leelock, nice to have you here, my friend. But there could be a kind of a feedback, an electric feedback through your RSP1A if they're on the same antenna. Be careful with that. Yes, that's what I will. I will enjoy it. Next week there's supposed to be mid 70s to upper 70s for several days with the sunshine, and it made me think that I will absolutely have at least one day at Perry Island or somewhere outdoors and listening to the radio. Dale says, thanks for the live show. You're inspiring me to get back into radio listening. Enjoy your week off. I like that because a lot of people come back into the hobby, or even some hams have come back to the hobby because they saw a couple of videos, or they fumbled upon my live shows, and it gives them that, it's like, oh wow, there's still people doing that, and they feel like they want to enjoy and come back to radio again. And I like that. It's kind of cool when somebody tells me that. Glenn, nice to have you on board. WF7I Ombrew, I understand. So much going on for me here lately. No time for radio at all. Sometimes we have to step back temporarily. Yeah, it's I had a point. I had a point where I was doing a lot of live shows, and I went from, when I was doing the tech show on the other channel, I was this close at some point to just stop everything. I got fed up because I was like, I didn't feel like doing live shows. I would wake up in the morning and, the first thing that crossed my mind is, oh God, is going to have a live show today. It was more of a pain in the butt to do it than having fun. The idea here is I like to do live shows, but I have to have fun doing a live show. If I don't have fun doing the live show, I'm not going to do a live show. Here it's different. On the tech channel, it's demanding for another reason, and then you look at what the positive and negative of all of it, and where it all goes, and who's watching, and here it's much more fun to do a show, and the audience here is fun also. I know that there's an audience that misses my live shows on other channels, but you get to a point where you take decisions and you're like, okay, where do I spend all my energy, and where do I do a live show? Because at least here there's all sorts of things. We listen to the radio, we watch the stuff, there's SSTV, there's you guys ask questions, and it's more, it's a hobby, where the tech show was more of a, kind of felt more like work than a hobby. And so it's very different. But I'd rather take it easy, not have too many shows, but still do shows. I think everybody here would find it sad that I would just stop doing live shows. And it's summer, and summer is different. It's that time when you're more inclined to maybe go outside to do activities and stuff. For sure. Not the same antenna. Kind of interesting. Is the RSP1A close to the radio? Maybe when you turn it on, there's kind of a magnetic field or interference going through the USB cable. That could be possible. If the USB cable from the computer to the RSP1A isn't, high quality, maybe there could be some interference to the data line. Joe Alice, Sony ICF 2010 finally died. Oh, that's so sad. Such a nice radio. Yeah, a lot happened this month. Absolutely, with COVID, from my nephew having COVID, Paul the cat hit by a car. I got about a month and a half ago, I got attacked. At some point, you're like, wow, Agong, nice to have you here from Jakarta, Indonesia. My name is Jill, and I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. WF7I Ombro says, yep, I'm a ham and was inspired by your channel to re-engage my hobby. Cool. Kevin J. Apollo, nice to have you here, WS2H. And yeah, I'll do some radio. I'll just do I'll go to Perry Island and enjoy also the beautiful weather outside, So, by taking it easy and not doing too much, like 2 shows like I'm doing now is a nice pace. And, that's okay. If I would had another show, it would really need to be something that I feel I want to do, that's going to be fun to do. The tech channel shows I stopped because I was not having fun anymore. So when you're not having fun, and when you have to flip on that camera and smile and talk to everybody when you don't feel like it, at some point you're like, yeah, do I really need to do this? Here it's different. Here it's, everybody's really nice, and the sense of friendship and community also helps a lot in all of this. Yeah, maybe that's why they are close, Legion. It might interfere somehow. The sun has 2 sunspots this week. Pretty cool. 2 sunspots for 2 sunspots of solar cycle 25. It's really nice. Oh, Glenn, you're out of the hospital. Cool. I hope everything is all right and nothing bad. And it's nice to have you back from the hospital, my friend. Joe Tyson, I just read Yaesu FT450D and Alenco DXR8T are being discontinued due to parts shortage. That happens very, very often. Very, very often that they will either discontinue something or will stop producing it because they don't have any replacements for some of the parts, unfortunately. Deachin says, I think autumn winter is more of the real shortwave time, no thunderstorms and better propagation. The the winter for me, summer represents listening to shortwave and outside. And I do a lot of that, and I like to install myself, like, on the balcony, or spend an evening outdoors, or go to Perry Island or things like that. And bring radios along, and it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. The winter time is indoor listening. Winter time is, and propagation is so different from season to season. I was noticing that it's already starting to show that we're more than a month after summer solstice. So what happens is it's the changing propagation slowly showing up now. And in the next few weeks, as we get into August now, in the next few weeks, we're going to really see a difference in propagation in the afternoon and the evening. And some of the signals that are not really making it much right now will start getting back. And others I will lose. For example, I've been actually very, very actively listening to Radio New Zealand on 13840, because as we get into August now, that 13840 is slowly fading out in the evening. Already, I've seen that at around 0400, it's getting weaker already. And so that, means that it's slowly shifting away. And I won't have my evening Radio New Zealand in a few weeks, to a month. I'm not going to have my Radio New Zealand evening listening anymore. Right. So that's going to be back next year, if it's still on, hopefully. Kimberly, we care about you. I know. RJDA Dakota, you deserve time off. You can only take so much. You have to have a good time with what you do, or it's not worth it. Absolutely. Joe Tyson, my trusty ICOM IC7200 was canceled a second time due to lack of parts. I think it had a 16-year run. Michael, yep, absolutely. Three, here it's not a problem in general, but three Latino guys. One pushed me to the ground real hard. I mean, I didn't even see it coming. My face was on the sidewalk in, a quarter of a second. And when I got up, I was fortunate enough that he was positioned right. When I got up, I was able to punch him. I still have my hand that hurts, but I was able to give him a really good punch. And I started yelling, and that's where they started running away. But they wanted to steal my my smartphone and my wallet. First time it ever happens. But I think when I hit one of them, they kind of noticed, okay, that's not going to be easy. Let's just get the hell out of here. But I got home. My face was in blood. I had blood everywhere in the face, and man, I couldn't even move my hand at first. It was crazy. What else do we have? David, EA3IEK says, take some time off and DX on your own. A hobby should never be forced or self-imposed. So when that happens, it means it's time to take a rest and reset. Absolutely. That's why I will, alternate for a few weeks. We'll alternate between, live show weeks and weeks where I'm taking some time off. And honestly, what is interesting also is August, September. So, with all the warming, with global warming, August and September here in Montreal in the past few years I've turned from it's getting colder to it's actually still very summer and warm. So I like that for the fact that it's, I can think of going to Perry Island in September, for example, and I like the propagation change. One of the things that I had noticed so many times that I went to Perry Island D expeditions is in when you're close to summer solstice, and because I don't stay at Perry Island very late, for a very simple reason. There's a lot of trees there, and it gets rather dark quickly. So when the sun goes down, everybody leaves. It's like you don't feel in being alone with my radios in there, even though nothing ever happened. It's more like I'm not sure I want to stay here alone. When there's other people around, there's activity. It's something. But when you start getting, it start getting a little darker and there's no one around you kind of start thinking, well, maybe it's time that I go too. So what happens is my radio listening at Perry Island is often limited more to a daytime period, your afternoon up to late afternoon, in some cases up to early evening. But usually I make a run from about noon all the way to roughly 6 p.m. at the most. Well, in that 6 hour that I could be there with the radios, it's in June, it's like it's daytime. Propagation isn't really helping much, and summer midday is probably the worst time to listen to shortwave. So in June or early July, you go to Perry Island, but it's like, well, there's not that much to listen to right now. As we're getting closer to the equinox, as we go into August and September, it is way more interesting in the afternoons, because a lot of the stations you don't hear in June or July, now they're starting to get to you even in the afternoons. And now you get better propagation to Europe and different parts of the world. So it's actually more fun to do the afternoon expeditions in August, September, and even October, when there are some really beautiful days, than it is in June or July. What else do we have? Our data Dakota says here on Wentzville, Missouri, it can get very dark. Sometimes you can get town lights, but for the most part, it's really dark. I miss having really dark skies for doing astronomy. Adjunct says, I really enjoy chatting with Airband on the radio every day. May I ask, if I listen to the pilot on the Airband radio, is that allowed to wait just to talk about it? What do you exactly mean by that, Adjunct? Thomas Olson, aside from New Zealand, what English services do you find most interesting? Keep up the good work for us radio crazies. So, of course, Radio New Zealand is my summer evening listening. I like that. I like Radio New Zealand's style of programming and all. But if I, what I enjoy listening to in English services is, I always like to try to get a nice, clear reception of the BBC. I enjoy listening to BBC programming when possible. I love the NewsHour program. Almost every English language broadcast has some interest. What I hate the most is music, for the most part. I'm not a big fan of listening to music on shortwave from an international broadcaster, except, Voice of Greece has excellent Greek music. Radio Nacional Amazona has some really nice Brazilian music. But apart from that, most of the time, it's I want to have spoken programs. In an evening, I'll easily listen to Radio New Zealand, Radio Romania. I'll often try to get the relays of from WRMI of Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia. I will Voice of Turkey has some interesting stuff sometimes. So I go around. The BBC, the Voice of America, I do enjoy listening to also. These are a little harder to get sometimes here. Kimberly, been attacked in 2015. I had to have the guy arrested. It scared me so much. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get on duty crossing guard that day. Yeah, it is. Somebody asked me if it changed my, if I would, I'm more scared of going out, stuff like that. It didn't change anything. I don't have more fear of going out at night at all, but I will be more vigilant in looking around who's around me, I would say. But it's definitely not fun. And when it happened, I just, my brain switched to another mode. I went from, I was, coming home to I wanna punch these guys. There was no more logical thinking in my head. And I could, in some way I was lucky because obviously they could have had a gun or a knife. Legion says, I live in one of the safest towns in Germany. Crime rate here is very low. Montreal is considered to be one of the safest cities in North America. That's for sure. But like every city and every town, it's not zero crime. There's still some crime happening. William Conlon, you drink little now. Well, it depends on it depends on what I have to drink, and sometimes I take it easier. Dejan says, when we were on holiday in northern Germany, a guy was following us for 20 minutes, and he was staring at the expensive DSLR of my mom. When my father came back to us, the guy stopped following us. Yeah. Blind Picker, nice to have you here, Rob, in Connecticut. W0RAB. It's always nice to have you here. But it's always sad when something like that happens. RJ88 Dakota says, little forest that behind our house adds to the summer ambience with all the frogs and nighttime sounds. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mike Michael, yeah, that's scary. Glad you're okay. I had one guy who was looking at me sketchy once. I lifted up the back of my shirt, pretended to scratch my back. He saw the butt of my gun and he was gonzo. Yeah. It's, it's here, like I said, it doesn't really happen much, but it's not a fun thing for sure. WF7I, I still think an interactive live event like a Zoom or a WebEx would be a lot more fun. Anyone from Facebook group try one yet? Yeah, there are some groups that do it. I've participated in some of those live events, Zoom events with some clubs, some other clubs. Yeah, it's kind of fun, tuning. You can tune the bands together and stuff like that also. JDA Dakota, especially in late afternoon and evening. I'm out of the house and away from RF sources. You already have named most of my favorite stations to listen to. Yeah. David says, until a few years ago, Barcelona used to be a pretty safe city. Unfortunately, that's not so much the case anymore, at least in certain parts of the city. There are, let's face it, there are some parts of town that are less fun to go to at night. That's for sure. Here where I live, it's rather safe. Yes, you. If you want to listen to the radio, this is the channel for all the fun. I uh, I listen to Alex Jones to have a good laugh. Alan Wiener. I sometimes listen to his show on the Friday evening. Christy Freitas, nice to have you here. Hope you are having a great. Hope you're going to have a great weekend. Did you get a haircut? Looks great. I actually cut it myself because my barbershop is still closed because they're old 70-plus-year-old guys. They don't want to risk COVID. And there was another barbershop that I would go to that there's no sign on the door, nothing, and it's not open. And it's like I looked a few times, still not open. So I got tired. Actually, it was because when I went to Perry Island 2 weeks ago or last week, it was hot and it was like mid 80s. When you got long hair, it's hot. And it made me think, look, I got to have a haircut, especially, in the wintertime, I probably would still continue leaving the hair grow, but in the summertime, it's too hot. So I got home one day and I looked at my clipper and I said, you know what? I'm going to use my clipper, put the number 6 on it, and let's go for it. And if it looks too bad, I'll find a place and get my hair fixed. The funniest part is I've had my hair cut so many times, nobody ever mentions anything. I cut it myself like this, and everybody's like, wow, your haircut is really nice. Okay, I'm going to continue doing it myself. I do a better job, it seems. So thanks for the comment. Thomas Olson says, by the way, as an old radio broadcast guy, what is the microphone you use for the program? It's a Maono, Maono, AU A04, which is a USB microphone. It comes with everything, including the articulated arms and the and everything. You just plug it in and it works, and it has amazing sound. I'm extremely happy with this microphone. Purchased it on Amazon. Cost me something like, with taxes and everything, I think it cost me something around like 80 or 90 Canadian dollars. Legion says, I asked if Iran can send out QSLs again. The young lady who does the mailbag show at the German service told me that the mail is still not resumed. Wow, you're taking a lot of time. Chrissy, not bad for a self-cut. Looks good. Yeah, I was actually surprised myself when I looked myself in the mirror. I was like, well, you know what? Not that bad. Not that bad. And I'm the kind of guy that's kind of weird a little bit. I hate to talk to people that cut my hair. I was like, I just want them to cut and that's it. And just, if I had one thing to say when I get in a barbershop is just shut up and cut my hair. Matt stopped by his local ham radio outlet last week. You can't go in the store because it's all older retirees working there. Oh, really? Wow. So what, you got to order online or order in advance and they put the box in front of the door? But everywhere where it's they're older people, I noticed they stayed close. They're all scared of getting it because, anybody can get real sick, but it's there's more, the elderly are more at risk of getting real sick of COVID. And if you have some kind of health problem, it's even worse. Dejan says, my barber shop to which I went had to close down forever because of COVID. It existed over 70 years. Wow. Yeah, I can bet with your longer hair, Chrissy, gets hot when it's hot. Hello, Alex Jones. Oh, God. So, one day I was going outside, and I was looking at my MLA30 antenna, and, it's just so beautiful to watch it suck the airwaves and to get all the stations. And that's why I bought the microphone. Sucks my voice in. It's really great. All my friends in Congress are super happy of this. Oh, God. John Moulton just put the quote, "Shell, just shut up and cut my hair." Okay, Matt, so I heard it online or call when you arrive at HRO. Okay. Yeah. It's not as fun as going in and watching and looking at all this stuff. Matt says, I know one of the hams that work at HRO, his wife is getting chemo, so she's even higher risk. Yeah, they don't want to risk it. That's for sure. That's for sure. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you here from Brazil. Hey, Simplio, nice to have you here. Hey, that comes from last Halloween when I had my tinfoil hat and did my Alex Jones impression. You got to get the voice right, but you also got to get his way of talking right. He has a certain way of where he pauses in the words and intonations that he gives them. So you got to have all of that working for Alex Jones impersonation to actually work. Yeah, that's sad when you cannot try. One part of the fun of radio buying is, being able to sit down a little bit and play around with the radios. I remember when I purchased my Kenwood R5000 back in '89, I would go to Radio Lorenz and I could, actually look at it and touch it and have the feel of the radio. And it was plugged into an antenna, so you could listen to some shortwave stuff. Frank Ireland, nice to have you here from Tampa, Florida. Pretty cool to have everybody on board. So, Michael Satterfield, nice to have you on board from South Carolina. Right now, if you guys are listening to the radio, you have, let me just go to 9830. Let's close this and this and go here. 9830 should have Voice of Turkey. Definitely is there. With a really good signal. Voice of Turkey, 9830. So lots of activity there. 9830, Voice of Turkey coming in well. One thing I wanted to check, I haven't heard what time is the broadcast. I want to try Iqaluit weather. Iqaluit weather, which is, I think, is 6507. Iqaluit, it's 2235 to 2315. So we're going to try it now. If you guys want to tune 6507 upper sideband, 6507 upper sideband. In a couple of minutes, we should be hearing VFF, Iqaluit radio in the northern part of Canada. I'm even going to try it on my ICOM. that has the W6 LVP loop. So we're going to try that out. 6507. I'm curious if I haven't heard it in a long time, and I haven't heard it this year yet. I'm curious if it's going to come in. Ecaluate radio. It should be starting in a minute or two. 6507. Chrissy Freitas getting voice of Turkey. Cool. Matt says, I'm tuned to 6507 upper sideband, but it's highly doubtful I can get him since it's just past 4:30 p.m. here. Yeah, but, you never know. I mean, even here, although, the sun is going to set in, 2 hours, it's still very much, daylight, but it's going to be interesting to... Legion says, Voice of Turkey's German service was messed up today, as it often is the case. Broadcast started 40 minutes later than actually scheduled. They're always messed up. Voice of Turkey sometimes is missing. Sometimes it's late. It's sometimes they don't turn off the transmitter and they continue, and I'm hearing it. I just heard it's weak, but I'm hearing it. It's a woman voice, and she's just said that it's Canadian Coast Guard radio. I'm hearing VFF Iqaluit weather. Woohoo! Wow, this is amazing. This should actually get better as we'll move on to September. As we move on to September, is going to be probably a better signal. Yeah, don't forget, guys, when there's a hurricanes that are close to land, Hurricane Watch Net, and listen to the net 14325 upper sideband, 7268 lower sideband. Frank Ireland, I will probably review that tomorrow on the channel. Yeah, 2 sunspots, RJD Dakota. 2 sunspots over the new cycle 25. Pretty cool. The biggest problem I have in Iran is that often they are inaudible or very low audio, unfortunately. Super 20 Dan says, if you get bored with shortwave, 80 meter lower sideband is a blast. So Matt, MDK2 says Hurricane Watch Net on the air right now on 14325 upper sideband. So you can check that out. So, hey guys, we've been on for 2 hours and 37 minutes almost. I will say goodbye for tonight. Terry Cook says 6507 upper sideband at noise level in Montana. So remember that next week there is no live shows. I'm taking a week off, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with our regular schedule of Wednesday, Friday shows. Hope that you enjoyed today's show, and stay safe, everybody. Enjoy your radio. I will definitely go to probably Perry Island or something like that during the week next week. And it's going to be fun to I will definitely do some video. Actually, what I wanted to do is if I go to Perry Island, do a kind of a roundup of how I set up, what do I bring with me when I go to Perry Island, and all of that. and show you guys my setup once I'm there. I always want to pack pretty light and not bring too much, but just enough. So take care, everybody. Maybe I was thinking of maybe bringing an MLA-30 Matam Valley, as it's very easy to actually bring along in a backpack. So I was thinking that possibly I'm going to bring an MLA-30 with me. I think that could be nice. Try it out over there. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. Love you all. And see you in 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks, as next week I'll be off. Take care, everybody.